During the Clone Wars, Jedi General Anakin Skywalker led the 501st Legion of Clone Troopers alongside Captain Rex and fought alongside many unique and incredibly brave soldiers. One clone trooper he served with, however, was slightly more confident in his own abilities than anyone he had ever seen. This trooper was so confident in himself that he tried to give Anakin Skywalker himself tips on how to fly a starfighter, but he did get results. So who was this very proud and confident clone trooper? Let's find out. Before we get into it, make sure you're subscribed for more awesome Star Wars lore content. So the story begins inside of a Republic briefing room where General Anakin Skywalker is briefing his men on an upcoming mission, and R2-D2 is projecting the battle objectives for everyone to see. Anakin then tells his men that Republic intelligence has intercepted and decoded a recent separatist transmission, which has details about a new subjugator class ship in the nearby Enoth system. Anakin goes on to tell his men that according to the intelligence, the ship isn't armed yet, but there is an extremely high-powered energy shield on the planet's surface, which is protecting the very valuable ship. As Anakin is talking, however, one very confident clone trooper stands up and declares to his general and the rest of his brothers, "I'll make this mission a success, General. With me on the team, you haven't a thing to worry about. I'm the best, and there isn't a droid I couldn't outrun or blow out of the sky." As the clone trooper continues on his arrogant rant, all of his brothers stare at him with anger, and Anakin himself interrupts, telling the trooper that overconfidence is a very dangerous thing. No pilot should ever underestimate his enemy. The trooper, however, just can't stop himself and continues by saying, "Just point those clanker fighters in my direction and I'll take care of the rest. You'll see." As he is saying this, the trooper's brothers blast him by saying that Shooter doesn't know that he's not only embarrassing himself with this stupidity, but he is embarrassing the rest of the clones that share his face. They also go on to add that nobody in the 501st really likes him because to him, this war is just a game. He doesn't realize that sometimes you can lose. You can lose both brothers and your own life. After this, Anakin and his men move out, and they very soon find out that their intelligence was dead wrong. The new separatist ship was actually fully armed. Because of this, Anakin orders all of his fighters to not get too close to the vessel and to concentrate on taking down the droid fighters until the shields can be taken down too. As he is giving these orders, Shooter's commander falls into a very bad situation with one of his other pilots calling out that he has a droid fighter on his tail. The commander dodges and weaves through space, but he simply can't shake this fighter from his tail. The commander is in a pretty dire situation at this point, but Shooter is not going to let his commander be killed by a clanker. Shooter then shouts out over the intercom, "Don't worry, Commander, I'm on it," before racing over to the clanker and blasting him into a million pieces. After Shooter watches the wreckage of the droid ship burn up, his commander is impressed and calls out, "Shooter, is that you?" To which the pilot proudly responds, "The one and only," before taking it a step further and arrogantly stating, "If you want some flying tips when we get back, I'll be happy to provide them, General." Anakin is not happy with this at all and begins seething in his cockpit, calling Shooter an arrogant, overbearing clone. In response to this, Shooter pulls up alongside Anakin's fighter and taunts him by saying, "There's nothing wrong with being overconfident when you're right." Anakin wants to explode at this young pilot, but he keeps his composure and contacts Captain Rex on the surface of the planet, who is currently trying to take down the shield generator. And let me know down below if you'd be the type of pilot like Shooter, or would you be someone more like Hawk, who follows orders without question. Both type of pilots can be useful for different roles, but it really just depends on the situation. Even Anakin himself is pretty close to Shooter if we're being honest. They're a perfect combo. So let me know down below which one you'd be. Rex then tells him that the ground invasion below is progressing slowly, and that Anakin will know very shortly if they have succeeded in taking down the shield generator. After Rex's men continue pushing forward on the barren surface of the planet, much time passes, but eventually they reach the optimal firing distance to bombard the shield generator in hopes of releasing all of the protection above. Following this, Rex orders his men to open fire, and they do take some damage of their own, but eventually, Rex is able to call his general and give the all clear to the fighters in the space above to attack the ship without worrying about the shield. After receiving the go-ahead, Anakin orders his blue group to keep the droid fighters busy, while his red group will form up behind him and commence a large-scale attack on the main reactor. Shooter, however, struggles to take this order on board, and instead of forming up behind Anakin, Shooter literally takes charge of the fleet and flies ahead of his general. Anakin is deeply angered by this and goes off on Shooter for not following his orders, but Shooter makes the excuse, "Sorry, General, must have misheard you." This then sends Anakin into a rage, where he warns Shooter not to mishear his next order and to watch his spacing, or he will be destroyed by turbo lasers instantly. Following this, Anakin leads his men into the interior of the ship, but Shooter tries to start racing Anakin inside, which of course further infuriates his general. After this, Shooter spots two B-1 battle droids on the deck of the unfinished ship, and they are very frightened when they see the Republic fighters whizzing through the area. Without a single care in the world, Shooter flies straight through the B-1 units without any concern for damage to his ship. Following this, Shooter is finally able to follow the mission directive and forms up behind his general, while Red 5 leads his men in the other group to distract the B-1 battle droids on the deck. Anakin then immediately calls for his men to target the main stabilizer of the ship's reactor, and once the torpedoes hit it, they're going to need to escape the area very quickly or they'll be killed by the chain reaction. Shooter, being the type of clone he is, has to be the first to fire his missile, and to his absolute shock, the reactor is protected by a ray shield, marking the first ever true failure in Shooter's life. Just after he fires his missile, Shooter is then hit and his weapons are taken out by separatist Vulture droids, putting him in a very dangerous situation. As Anakin sees his pilot in severe danger, he calls out to him on the intercom and tells him that he is coming to help. But Shooter is too proud to accept this help. Shooter is going to plunge his badly damaged vehicle right into the reactor as one final heroic move. Anakin demands to know what he thinks he's doing, but Shooter won't listen. He tells Anakin that he is going to take care of the mission and ensure that it succeeds. Determination flows through Shooter's veins, and he rapidly directs his ship right into the reactor, ready to make the ultimate sacrifice. Anakin then forcefully demands that the pilot pull back, but he responds by saying, "I can't. You know I don't respond well to orders." At this point, Anakin knows that his brave trooper will pull off the unthinkable. Anakin orders all of his fighters to move far away from the shipyards immediately, as the entire facility is about to be blasted into a trillion pieces, with a massive red fireball engulfing a large part of the area. Moments later, Shooter completes his final mission, bursting straight into the reactor core and successfully destroying the new separatist ship at the cost of his own life. As Anakin lands his fighter back on his Republic cruiser, Ahsoka comes rushing, incredibly relieved that he survived and very excited that the separatists will now be held back. Anakin, however, is washed with sadness as he tells the young Ahsoka that the mission cost him a lot of good men, including Shooter, who saved the mission. As the master and apprentice are talking, two of Shooter's brothers come strolling onto the deck, beginning to laugh and celebrate their victory. One of them coldly says that none of the clones ever liked Shooter anyway, and that he got what he deserved. This angers Anakin deeply, causing him to snap at his men and say that Shooter may have bragged, but he was still as brave as any of you. He also saved Anakin's life. Anakin then turns back to Ahsoka and tells her that Shooter was one of a kind and that he is going to miss him throughout the war. Ahsoka then tells her master that she flew with Shooter in a previous mission too, and that she will miss him just as much. And to end the story, Shooter's two clone brothers do end up realizing that maybe he wasn't so bad after all, and they will actually miss his crazy confidence now that he's gone. He was their brother after all. So that was the most arrogant and confident clone pilot to ever serve Anakin Skywalker, and he actually turned out to be one of the bravest men and most loyal clones to ever serve. Thanks so much for watching, really hope you enjoyed the video. Remember to leave a like if you want to see more unknown 501st troopers just like this. I can definitely turn this into a series if you guys want to see more, so just let me know down below. Cheers guys, hope to see you in the next one.